Not too long ago, I was scrolling on my phone when I stumbled upon a post where an influencer was announcing that they were writing a book. That's great. I think everyone should try writing a book at least once in their life, if you have the impulse. And then a few months later, I stumbled upon another post where they announced that they had finished a rough draft of their book. That's awesome, I thought. This is one of the best parts of the writing process, when you have a complete draft, something fully formed and finished, even though there's still plenty of work to do to make it better. But it's awesome knowing that you actually finished, because so many writers get to the middle where things get hard and then they just give up. But I was surprised when just a few weeks later, that same influencer announced they had shown that rough draft to an editor, and that editor had made an offer on the book. And now it was available for pre-order, even though it wasn't even remotely finished. Wait a minute, this isn't right, I thought. I mean, there's so much work that goes on between having a rough draft and having a product that's available for pre-order. You have to edit the manuscript multiple times. You should show it to beta readers and get their feedback and see what they think about it. You should look at character motivations and the plot. You should get an agent that reaches out to editors on your behalf. As someone who's had a book traditionally published and has another one coming out next year, I knew that this influencer was essentially jumping the line. And when I saw that, I thought, this sucks. I mean, I sold a book to a publisher over a year ago, and I still don't have an official publication date or pre-order links that I can share with folks. So I sat there and looked at that influencer's post for like 10 minutes, letting the grumpiness really set in. And then I let it go. Until I decided to bring it up again by making a YouTube video about it, obviously. Except I'm not making this video to air my grievances about influencers. I'm making this video about that feeling of resentment I had when I read about that influencer's book deal. My debut novel got published back in 2021, and I've now been a part of the publishing world for long enough to know that when it comes to art, we're not all operating on an even playing field. Whether you're a painter, or a ceramicist, or a photographer, or a musician, or a writer like me, you have to recognize that other people will have advantages that you don't. And we know that advantages come in all shapes and sizes. Some people will have more money or more time, other people will have a better network of connections, some people will just be naturally more charismatic and better at selling their work. The list goes on. And if you're going to exist in the arts, whether that's trying to make a living as a full-time artist or just trying to make a little money on the side, you have to decide early on how you're going to react when you encounter those people with advantages. Unfortunately, I think many of us artists struggle with jealousy. And I think that ultimately comes down to having this scarcity mindset. We think there are only so many jobs or book deals or dollars, and in order for me to get mine, you'll have to get less. You have to let go of thoughts like that. If you allow that feeling to stew inside of you, seeing everyone as competition rather than supporting the success of your peers, you're going to be miserable. You'll start to hate art, and your creativity will suffer. Now, I also happen to collect Pokemon cards. If you know anything about the Pokemon card market right now, you'll know that it's out of control. You can't find cards on any of the shelves, and people are lining up outside stores overnight like this is Black Friday in 2006. It's terrible. But recently there has been this guy named Coop who's sort of blown up online. Coop is a Pokemon card vendor, and whenever kids come up to his booth, he's always asking them what their favorite Pokemon is and giving away cards for free. He always talks to people in a really nice way and always makes sure he works out fair deals with folks. And because of that, people have really resonated with his content. In a time where everyone else is fighting for scraps, Coop is just giving things away. He's blown up on YouTube, and now people are actively seeking him out at conventions. Coop knows that putting generosity and goodness out into the world means it usually comes back to you in a big way. And I think artists can learn a lot from this. Openly celebrating the success of others is one of the healthiest things we can do as artists. Instead of walking around with clenched fists and gritted teeth, we can actually be generous and encouraging. I'm not saying you can never feel jealous or annoyed. Those are natural human emotions, and they're going to come up. Just like they came up for me when I saw that influencer's post. But you can choose whether or not to wallow in that negativity. Now, I recognize this is easier said than done. So to get the ball rolling, I want to encourage you to begin practicing reckless encouragement. If the artists you know are anything like the artists I know, they're probably racked with self-doubt. They have all these internal voices telling them to give up, and they probably have multiple external voices telling them to do something more practical, telling them that they're probably never going to make it. Wouldn't it be great if you could be the friend who's actually a voice of positivity? And trust me, the bar is low. All you have to do is like a post about their art or leave an encouraging message. Take them out to a cup of coffee and give them a little pep talk. A few years ago, my friend Kayla got me this mug for Christmas. In my debut YA novel, there's a coffee shop called Bad Pun Coffee. And I called it that because in the town I grew up in, there were all these little coffee shops that had bad puns in their names, like The Human Bean or Common Ground. So instead of trying to come up with like a funny little pun on my own, I just named the coffee shop Bad Pun Coffee. And when I opened this gift, it really meant a lot to me. This wasn't some huge grand gesture or something she spent a ton of money on, but it was an easy way for her to say, hey, I see you. I appreciate your work. Keep it up. And I really felt that. You can do the same for the artists in your life. And now obviously you don't have to go overboard with this. If your friend is about to quit their job to pursue a career as a full-time ceramicist and they've never even made or sold one bowl, then yeah, you should probably sit them down and have a little talk with them, and maybe you two together can figure out a way that they can ease into things. But I don't think most artists are doing things like that. I think most of them are facing wave after wave of adversity and they're thinking of throwing in the towel. I truly think we're missing out on some great art in the world just because people have given up before they've reached any real level of success. Making art and trying to find an audience for it can be brutal. I know from firsthand experience. But wasting your time and energy feeling jealous of others and annoyed by their success isn't going to make it any better. They say jealousy is a poison you drink hoping the other person gets hurt. So don't drink the poison. Instead, just take your artist friend out for coffee. I promise you'll have a better time. As always, thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful or you enjoyed it, you can encourage a struggling artist right now by giving it a thumbs up. And if you like to talk about this sort of stuff, writing, the creative process, making art, consider subscribing to this channel. I'll see you on the next one.